The Holy Quran, translated in English by Talal Itani, 2021 edition. Web address www.clearquran.org.
Quran Chapter 24. In the name of Allah, the kind, the caring. We revealed a chapter, and we made it mandatory. And we revealed clear verses in it, so that you may take notice. Fornicators, male and female, whip each of them 100 lashes. And don't let sympathy for them keep you from Allah's law, if you believe in Allah and the last day. And let a group of believers witness their punishment. A male fornicator marries only a female fornicator, or an idolatress. A female fornicator marries only a male fornicator, or an idolater. This is prohibited for believers. Those who accuse pure women, but don't produce 4 witnesses, whip them 80 lashes. And never accept testimony from them. These are the immoral. Except those who later repent and reform. Allah is forgiving and merciful. He who accuses his wife, but has no other witnesses than himself, let him swear by Allah 4 times, his telling the truth. And the 5th time, Allah's curse be upon him, if his lying. Punishment shall be averted from her, if she swears by Allah 4 times, that is lying. And the 5th time, Allah's wrath be upon her, if is telling the truth. If it weren't for Allah's goodness and mercy towards you. Allah is the acceptor of repentance, the wise. Those who planned the slander were a handful of you. Don't consider it bad for you, in fact, it's good for you. Each of them bears his share of sin. But the person who played the leading role will receive a terrible punishment. If only, when you heard it, believing men and women thought well of each other, and said, obviously, this is a lie. Why didn't they present 4 witnesses? If they don't present the witnesses, they are liars in Allah's sight. Were it not for Allah's grace and mercy towards you, in this life and the hereafter, you would have suffered great punishment for what you did. When you passed it from one tongue to another, and you said with your mouths what you didn't know, thinking it was insignificant, but according to Allah, it's serious. If only, when you heard it, you said, it's not for us to repeat this. Glory be to you, this is a terrible slander. Allah is warning you, never repeat this if you're believers. Allah is explaining the verses to you. Allah is all-knowing and wise. Those who like to see immorality spread among believers will have a painful punishment in this life and the hereafter. Allah knows what you don't know. Were it not for Allah's grace and mercy towards you, and that Allah is compassionate and kind. O you who believe! Don't follow in Satan's footsteps. Whoever follows in Satan's footsteps, he urges indecency and mischief. Were it not for Allah's grace and mercy upon you, none of you would ever be pure. But Allah purifies whom He wills. Allah is listener and knower. Those who have wealth and resources shouldn't refuse to give in Allah's way to their relatives, the needy and the emigrants. And let them forgive. And let them forget. Don't you like Allah to forgive you? Allah is forgiving and merciful. Those who slander honorable, innocent, believing women are cursed in this life and the hereafter. They will have a terrible punishment. On the day when their tongues, hands, and feet will testify against them about what they did. On that day, Allah will settle their account in full, and they'll know that Allah is the truth, the enlightener. Wicked women are for wicked men, and wicked men are for wicked women. Good women are for good men, and good men are for good women. These are innocent of what's said about them. They'll have forgiveness and a generous provision. O you who believe! Don't enter residences other than your own until you have asked permission and greeted the occupants. This is the best for you. Therefore, you must be careful. If no one is there, don't enter until permission is given. And if you're told, go back, then go back. That's more proper for you. Allah is aware of what you do. You aren't to blame for entering public places that provide you with amenities. Allah knows what you reveal and what you conceal. Tell believing men to restrain their looks and to guard their privates. This is better for them. Allah knows what they do. Tell believing women to restrain their looks and to guard their privates, and not display their beauty except what's usually showing, and to cover their breasts, and not to expose their beauty except to their husbands, their fathers-in-law, their sons, their stepsons, their brothers' sons, their sisters' sons, their fellow women, what their right hands have, their male servants who are free of sexual desires, and children who are indifferent to women's nudity. And they must not stomp their feet to draw attention to their hidden beauty. Believers, turn to Allah, all of you, so that you may succeed. Help the singles among you get married. And also, your righteous servants, male or female. If they are poor, Allah will make them self-sufficient by His grace. Allah is vast and all-knowing. Let those who can't afford to marry abstain, until Allah, by His grace, makes them self-sufficient. If any of your servants desire to be freed, grant them their wish, if you recognize some goodness in them. And give them of the wealth that Allah gave you. And don't compel your maids into promiscuity in pursuit of material gains, if they wish to remain pure. Whoever compels them, after their compulsion, Allah is forgiving and merciful. We sent you enlightening verses, examples of those who passed on before you, and advice for the righteous. Allah is the light of heavens and earth. The example of His light is a niche in which there's a lamp. The lamp is in a crystal. The crystal is like a bright star, fueled by a blessed tree, an olive tree, neither eastern nor western. Its oil illuminates, even when not touched by a flame, light upon light. Allah guides to His light whom He wills. Allah gives examples to people. Allah knows everything. In houses that Allah has allowed to be built, and His name is celebrated there. He is glorified there, morning and evening. By men who aren't distracted by buying and selling from the remembrance of Allah, the fulfillment of prayer and charity. They dread a day when hearts and eyes will be turned upside down. Allah will reward them according to the best of their deeds, and He will give them more of His grace. Allah provides for whom He wills without accounting. As for the unbelievers, their deeds are like a mirage in a desert. The thirsty imagines it as water, until, when he reaches it, he finds it to be nothing, and he finds Allah with him, who settles his account in full. Allah is fast in calculating. All like veils of darkness in a vast ocean, covered with waves, upon waves, above which hangs fog darknesses, one above the other. When He brings out His hand, he can hardly see it. Whomever Allah deprives of light has no light. Haven't you considered that everything in the heavens and on the earth glorifies Allah? even by birds in flocks. Each knows its way of praying and praising. Allah knows what they do. Allah controls the heavens and the earth, and to Allah is the final return. Didn't you see how Allah moves the clouds, joins them together, and then piles them in a heap? And you see raindrops pouring out. How He sends hailstones from the sky, they strike whom He wills, and He spares whom He wills. The flash of its lightning almost takes the sight away. Allah alternates day and night. Here lies a lesson for insightful people. Allah created every living creature from water. Some crawl on their bellies, some walk on 2 feet, and some on 4. Allah creates whatever He wants. Allah is capable of anything. We sent enlightening verses. Allah guides those who want to be guided to a straight path. And they say, "We believe in Allah and the Messenger, and we obey." But later, some of them turn away. These are not believers. When they are called to Allah and His Messenger, to judge among them, some of them refuse. But when justice is on their side, they gladly accept it. Is there a sickness in their hearts? Or are they suspicious? Or are they afraid that Allah and His Messenger will treat them unjustly? In fact, they themselves are unjust. When called to Allah and His Messenger for judgment, the response of believers is to say, "We listen and obey." These are the successful. Whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, and fears Allah, and is aware of Him, these are the winners. They swear by Allah, with their strongest oaths. If you commanded them, they would mobilize. Say, don't swear. Obedience is recognizable. Allah is aware of your works. Say, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. But if they turn away, He's responsible for His obligations, and you're responsible for yours. If you obey Him, you'll be guided. The responsibility of the Messenger is to convey the message clearly. Allah promised to make the righteous believers delegates on earth, as He made those before them delegates. He will make their faith strong, which pleases Him. He will substitute security for fear. They worship Me, never associating anything with Me. Those who disbelieve after this are the rebellious. Pray regularly, give charity regularly, and obey the Messenger, to be treated with kindness. Never think that unbelievers can win on earth. Their home is the fire, a miserable destination. O you who believe! Permission should be sought by your servants and those of you who haven't yet reached puberty. On 3 occasions, before the dawn prayer, at noon when you undress, and after the evening prayer. These are 3 occasions of privacy for you. At other times, it's not wrong for you or them to interact. That's how Allah explains His verses to you. Allah is aware and wise. When your children reach puberty, they should ask permission, just as those before them asked. That's how Allah explains His verses to you. Allah is all-knowing and wise. Older women with no desire to marry do no wrong by removing their outer garments, provided they don't display their beauty. But keeping modesty is better for them. Allah is listener and knower. There is no blame on the blind, or the disabled, or the sick, or yourselves for eating in your homes, or your father's homes, or your mother's homes, or your brother's homes, or your sister's homes, or in your paternal uncle's homes, or your paternal aunt's homes, or in your maternal uncle's homes, or your maternal aunt's homes, or in the homes of which you have keys, or in the homes of friends. You don't harm by eating together or separately. When you enter a house, greet each other with a sincere blessing from Allah. That's how Allah makes His verses clear to you, so that you may understand. Believers firmly believe in Allah and His Messenger, and when they are with Him on a matter of common interest, they don't leave without asking His permission. Those who ask your permission are true believers in Allah and His Messenger. If they ask your permission to attend to some of their private affairs, allow whom you want, and ask Allah's forgiveness for them. Allah is forgiving and merciful. Don't address the Messenger in the same way as you address one another. Allah knows those of you who slip away using flimsy excuses. Those who oppose His commands must beware, lest they be tried or afflicted with a painful punishment. Don't all things in the heavens and on earth belong to Allah? He knows where you stand. The day they return to Him, He will inform them of what they did. Allah has full knowledge of all things.